You're listening to the Nerd to Know Media Network. Join us at nerdtoknowmedia.com.
Broadcasting from the Blanchistan Center, this is Phoenix FM.
The internet is a communications tool used the world over where people can come together to bitch about movies.
According to the Nerd Index, you should be upside down in a junior high toilet around the clock.
This is we'll do it live. Time goes in, time goes out. Never miscommunication.
It's over 9,000. My name is Foxy.
The balls are in there.
Don't face me, bro. It's a trap. I'm a firing believer. Time to Hey, Cherry, wake up. Oh, God, oh, man.
Nerds, Basis Show, airing on Phoenix 92.5 FM and all those other wonderful places like our website and Spotify and now YouTube, where before we get into it, I want to say a thank you to all the people who've been engaging with our videos on YouTube. Woo!
Absolutely, guys. Thanks so much for everyone who's leaving comments and liking the videos and, kind of discussing about stuff that we're like talking about. We will read those comments later when we're talking about like the Acolytes. We have a segment.
We have read them. We just haven't responded to them yet.
Yeah, true. I think it makes more sense to kind of talk about them here. But yeah, absolutely. If this is your first time checking
out,
I'm
going to prove it. Ad Comedy 2420. We see you.
So look, the main thing about it is if this is your first time checking us out and you're listening to us on the podcast, if you're listening to us on Phoenix FM, please go over to nerdtoknowmedia.com or go over to YouTube and search Nerd to Know Media, and you'll be able to find everything we've done up from the pandemic basically up, and now all the past shows are being uploaded. I think it's like 3 a day. And then as we drop new content, we'll be dropping clips and full shows and stuff. So yeah, it's all there and it's all 100% free. So please go over and you'll be able to leave comments underneath it and we'll read them out on the show.
Oh yes, that'd be a segment. If we hit 10 comments, we'll read some of them out. So
yeah,
keep it coming.
Yeah, like I mean, it's the most direct. There are other ways to engage with us, but I think it's more fun to read out the comments. So we'll do that.
Absolutely. Now, I do apologize for the slightly different cadence of my voice this week. Hopefully, it's not something that'll kill me. But sorry, just real quick. There is like the worst case of hay fever or for American audience allergies going around in like history at the moment. I don't know. Do you suffer with hay fever or do you not? I do now.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy, right? Because like I get it bad, but not like really, really bad. Some people like their nose just keeps bleeding. It's that bad. So I'm not there, thank God. But like this year has been especially potent because like you're sitting there and you wake up and your eyes are just watering, and it's I don't know what I've like what's happened, like why it's so bad, but like the normal allergy medicine I take is just not working, so I had to swap to something out that's actually off prescription. So look, to anyone out there that's suffering with it, I see you. It sucks. Hopefully it will die down as we get into summer.
Comment your favorite hay fever medicine.
I mean, yeah, go on.
Folks, our favorites.
I mean, go for it. I'm not going to give out advice here, but try what works.
Oh my God, we'll start a poll on Twitter or something.
Imagine.
But we have a lot we want to cover today. We've both seen Inside Out. You've seen Guys and If. We also want to check on Nintendo Direct and some other stuff, like some possible Star Wars stuff. But very, very quickly, Darrett wasn't aware of this, but I want to carry on our quickly becoming a regular segment, which is random thing that dropped onto streaming that's very good. And in Ireland, on Netflix, Nope by Jordan Peele dropped this week. His third film, amazing film. There's horses, there's aliens, there's Hollywood History and Animal Cruelty. Have you seen it, Dara?
Nope.
Nope.
I was like, yeah, he's setting me up for
I
it.
teed myself up for that one.
You did. That's why we're professionals at this.
Do you have any idea why it's called Nope, by the way?
No, I honestly don't like Jordan Peele. I can't stand his movies.
Oh, well, like I've only seen Get Out and the Key and Peele show. I haven't seen the second film, unfortunately.
No, I mean like
I love his films. I think his films are really good.
oh no, they just don't do it for me. But also his Twilight Zone TV show was also
I did
awful.
hear that was a bit wobbly, yeah.
Yeah, I think he's like a one-trick pony and he just keeps doing the same kind of thing. But I mean, for some people they love it and they're like, yep, this guy's a genius. And for others, not so much. And for me, I'm very much in the latter where I'm like, I've kind of seen
I
everything
could
they've
see
ever done.
that, but like it's funny because we did an entire panel kind of putting J.J. Abrams on trial, and to me,
Yeah, it's the same
jo-
kind of thing. Yeah, same kind of thing.
but
Yeah.
this is the difference for me though, because to me, like a Jordan Peele film, you're not just trying to figure out what's literally going on. You're trying to figure out how it all connects together. And in this one, it opens with the fact that like the first piece of film ever made was a black man on a horse, and then suddenly you're in a Hollywood setting, and then suddenly there's aliens. So you're trying to figure out what the pieces all mean thematically as well as like literally. And like people who've seen it will know, like there's a really horrifying scene where like a chimp goes mad on the set of a sitcom, and like it's horrifying, but it's also kind of very captivating. So I don't know. I don't like my horror bloody. I like it kind of heady. And this like having seen this in the same week as like Men and what's it called? Inheritance? What's the film? I'll look it up now. Maybe it's called Descendants. But anyway, it
Man,
ticks that box really well. I like my horror a little bit heady,
yeah,
know?
I really, really liked the movie Men. It's very is that on streaming now?
No, I taped it off Channel 4.
Oh yeah, that well yeah, actually that makes a lot of sense because it's an A24 movie. That's a weird movie, man. It's really good. I really, really enjoyed it.
Hereditary. Sorry, that's the film I'm trying to remember. Hereditary.
Oh yeah, Hereditary. That's back in the cinema now as well, actually soon.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Um, Hereditary. Look, I think genuinely both those movies are better than any Jordan Peele movie. But Hereditary's Hereditary is a movie that like actually messed me up when I watched it. I was in a cinema by myself. I was in the Point Cinema, and I watched it at like 2 in the day or something like that. I was off work and I was watching it, and I was like, I'm so freaked out when that movie went off. It very few movies have stuck with me like that. The end of Men, uh, also, and the scene where he gives birth over and over and over again.
Yeah,
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 that
yeah.
also stuck with me for a while. But yeah, I don't know. Like what finished me with Jordan Peele was the Twilight Zone series. And I
Well, I
was
can
like,
understand that now. I mean, you don't want to like kind of milk the trick, but like
yeah, but I think
like,
that's what I'm saying. It's been for a while. I was under the impression that I was like, right, he's holding back here. Maybe he's just doing what works. And then I saw that I'm like, okay, he really only has this one trick.
well, see, I disagree. Like, because I mean, maybe it could just be because I like the Key and Peele show, and I like conceptually, I like the fact that his parodies were essentially so slick that they became real films. But like, I don't know, between this and Get Out, I like that it's just you sort of have to work on several levels to kind of get what's going on. Like, and the sequences are great. Like, I don't want to give too much away, but like the sequence near the end of the film where essentially they are just trying to get a photo or piece of film of the alien thing, and it knocks out the electricity anytime you go near it. So they have this whole setup across a massive field in the desert full of those like inflatable arm men,
Yeah.
where like every time it kind of passes by in the clouds above, they all just kind of flop down. And it's a really creative idea executed really well. And like so many like horror movies are like, I mean, there's some good cheap ones and there's some good scary ones, but like
But
to
here,
me,
look,
you don't get a scary film that is epic very often. And I get that from Nope. I really it left me in a really good mood and also really, really scared me. Like,
there's one thing I will say though, right? And I take your point on board, and I do agree with it to an extent. However, and what you said about J.J. Abrams, it really has it's very profound because like I think on one level that could be true, but on another level, it's like he's kind of a grifter, you know? He has his thing that he does, and he does it, and then everybody's like, "Oh, that's amazing, genius," and no one is like, it's kind of like the Emperor has no clothes, you know, where it's like once you see it, you can't unsee it, and
Well, I mean, he has a style, but I wouldn't call Get Out and Nope the same film.
no, but
They're socially conscious films with twists, but they aren't the same, you know?
No, I'm not saying they're the same, but I'm saying actually M. Night Shyamalan is someone as well who was kind of
I've heard the comparison made.
But I think it's a very accurate comparison. Like with J.J. Abrams, because he swaps around genre, it's kind of harder to see all the time, other than like, you're really looking for it. And he's been clever enough to move around enough to be like, okay, obviously his Star Wars stuff, we've done a pan on it, his Star Trek stuff, we've done a pan on it, but he gets rightly criticized, but is smart enough to move on. M. Night Shyamalan. M. Night Shyamalan.
I don't fully agree because Shyamalan, the whole thing is like, what's the twist?
Yeah.
I think a movie where you have to discover things is not the same as a movie that hinges on a surprise twist. Do you know what I mean? Like it's more like peeling layers back, you know?
No, what I'm saying is it's not that they're equal in the sense that there's a twist. It's more like the actual building blocks and format and things that go into the movie are so stylistically the same that you're like, right, you know what you're getting. And I mean, there's some directors that do that. I would argue like a lot of our tour directors have those touches, but when you compare like Hereditary and Midsummer, they're very different movies, but have similar touches that you're like, okay, that's an Ad Astra movie. But with Jordan Peele, there's nothing I've seen where I'm like, what's it? The Others, that movie was atrocious. Nope, I walked out of, and what's it? What was the other one? The big famous one that he did? Us. Yeah, I was like, I just can't get out. That was it. When I was watching it, I'm like, okay, you know what I mean? It doesn't. I think for me, it just doesn't hit anything I really can sink my teeth into. You know what I mean? But then again,
okay, well that's fair. I mean, like I personally like it ticks all the boxes for me.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
If the style doesn't work for you, it's not going to work for any of his films, I suppose. But
yeah,
that's why I love it in the opposite way. Like
exactly, that's exactly what I was going to say. I was going to say, but then there's some people who, if this is your bag, you're absolutely going to love it. Now, the only thing about it is it's a dangerous game. Because on the one hand, you're pleasing a whole section of your audience, like your core audience, but you are isolating a whole bunch of another audience because you're not bringing anyone in. But then again,
but how many directors are their own brand anymore? Like Wes Anderson has been kind of a joke within a joke for like a decade now. Yeah, but I don't think 3 movies in, Peele is hitting that stage yet. You know,
is TV work? That's the problem.
Well, again, I haven't seen it, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, that's the problem. Like, I would have been happy, you know, like, I don't dislike the guy. I don't dislike his work. It just doesn't do anything for me. Like, I'll watch it and I was like, okay. But the Twilight Zone thing, and I love the Twilight Zone. I know I've ever said that before on the show, but I genuinely love the Twilight Zone. And when I was watching it, I'm like, oh, wow, you are a hack. You have no idea what you're doing. You know, once he steps outside that comfort zone, it's gone. It's gone immediately. And I mean, that's unfortunate. Like I give him props for going into it, but it's like, yeah, man, once he steps inside that comfort zone, it's gone completely, you know, and it's, yeah, he might get it back, but until I see it, you know who it is, you know exactly who he's like, Kevin Smith. I was a big Kevin Smith fan, still like Clerks, all that kind of stuff, but he set up his own brand where you know what movies you're going to get. You're going to get the View Askew kind of stuff, you know, the Star Wars references and the dirty jokes. And
yeah, but as long as the movies are good, like a brand in a filmmaker is not necessarily a bad thing. Like,
no, of course not. But here's the thing: much like Peele, when he went outside of type, when he went outside of his brand, he revealed himself to be exactly what he was, and that's a very limited director with a
Well,
very
look, I will check out the Twilight Zone thing, but just based on the films, I think he's one of the like strongest like writer directors there is. I mean, like I know you mentioned the director of like Midsummer there, but there's in the sort of Star Warsy brand landscape, I will go to bat for any writer director that consistently makes good stuff. Even if
that's
it's
totally fair.
That's where
That's
I am.
totally fair. Yeah, and look, as you said, there are very few directors who have like a style who are making movies today. It's just,
but it doesn't work for you.
It just doesn't work for me. And again, like it's kind of a case where, right, if you go and try to do something a little bit different, you can't do it and you end up flopping, which is what happened with the Twilight Zone. But yeah, I mean, that's fair. Go on.
Well, sure. Since that's kind of sideways stepped us onto cinema anyway.
Yeah.
Why don't we talk about the films
Sure.
you had in mind? So we've both seen Inside Out. I saw it with my family on Father's Day. I'm assuming you went and got the hot dog, as is your ritual and all that.
You know what's wild, right? So, again, we're not sponsored by any cinemas. I wish we were. It would be awesome, but we're not. And they changed up their combos. So you used to be able to get a drink or whatever, and now you have to buy 3 things. So it's like a hot dog, a drink, and the popcorn. So I was like, it just works out. It was like €9 or something like that. I was like, well, it's stupid not to buy it. So yeah, I actually did end up with a hot dog, but it was grand, yeah.
I wish I had some like license-free music to play under that. Anytime we tiptoe towards advertising.
Oh, we're not advertising. I wish we were, like, genuinely, but I mean, it's just what I was surprised when I showed up. I was like, oh, I don't really want a hot dog today, and then it just worked out cheaper. I was like, okay, so I guess that this is happening. It's strange. I don't understand why they did it, but I mean,
yeah,
it just works out
well,
cheaper.
since we're talking about sort of cinema experience,
again, folks, we are not sponsored by any cinema. We're not. So,
well, I just wanted to say that like we went down to Dunleary to go watch it, and like I brought the kids and like my sister and wife and all that. Yeah. And can I just say it was great that we got there and the cinema was sold out and we had to wait. And I mean that in the most sincere way. Out. Seriously, it's very nice to see a movie sold out.
You know what?
That just doesn't happen anymore. Like I didn't mind waiting. I was so chuffed to see that happen,
Yeah, I mean, the screening I was in, it was relatively
galactic screen too, like.
Oh wow, so it was one of the big screens.
Yeah.
Oh, it's crazy. The screen I was in was a smaller one. It wasn't one of the big ones. But I mean, like usually I'm used to going to see a movie with like 3 people.
Well, no, we had to go to the smaller one. The Galactic was sold out, like.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like when I would go see, no matter what movie it was, there's like 3 people there. I mean, I went to go see Madam Web about 6 or 7 times in the IMAX, and I was the only person there at least 80% of those times. And with this, it was like the place packed. And you know what? I have to say, even though some people in the movies can be annoying, that usually teenagers, it was great to watch a movie with people who were like sincerely enjoying the film. It actually made the experience a lot. But like the movie itself is really good. I really enjoyed it. Actually, I enjoyed it a lot. But being in the theater with other people who are enjoying the movie, it was wonderful. It's a really cool experience, and I'm there with you, man. I'd much rather sit in front of in a packed cinema than on my own, because when you're watching a movie on your own, it's not the same.
Oh, I completely agree. There's sort of a sense of energy in the room and all that.
Yeah, it's like one of the cool things about going seeing the random anime that I go see. Like everyone in there,
they're buzzing.
Yeah.
No, I completely get that. I won't bother too much with a synopsis or a premise, because I'm assuming everyone knows the gist of it. Riley's a teenager. The premise is Riley's a teenager now. She's 13. New emotions are moving into her head because puberty's happening, and without giving away too much, it's sort of a battle of control between the original 5 emotions and the new 4 or 5 ones. So, like, are you a fan of the original Inside Out?
Yeah. I mean, it's very good.
It's on in our 2 or 3 times a week in our house. It's one of my daughter's
really
go-to ones now.
Interesting, and kind of bizarre, but fair enough.
Why bizarre? It's a kids' film.
Not really. I mean, it's a movie. It's a kids' film. It's mainly for adults, I think.
I saw it twice in cinema. It's got that layer to it, but she just loves Joy. Like,
Yeah, I
the
get.
characters you can really latch onto, like,
No, I get that, but I mean, it's like Toy Story. When you take away when you go to the meta narrative of Toy Story is very disturbing, where the
Mhm.
toys are alive, and you have to deal with the reality of the kids are going to grow up and then they're going to be discarded in probably like what 5 to 8 years.
Well, well,
That's
it's interesting that you bring up Toy Story because, like, I did enjoy Inside Out too, and I'll get into why in a second. But
sure.
actually, it'd be since Toy Story is sort of a bit off kilter now. I'd love it if Inside Out became the new thing that kids grew up with. Like,
I
I
think
know obviously it's 10 years between one and two. It's not going to be exact, but it'd be nice if, say, you did a movie where Riley was 18 going on 19 or something. That it'd be this is actually one ripe for sequels more than Cars or even The Incredibles, which I really like, or something like that,
yeah. Here's the thing. I mean, you could at least get 4 or 5 movies out of that.
Mm.
Super easy, and then kind of actually it's a series that genuinely could probably go on forever.
Yeah, absolutely. As long as the quality stays consistent, yeah.
But yeah, it's just I don't know. It's weird because it's like there's a lot. Maybe I'm not giving kids that much credit, but like it's such a weighty movie, if that makes sense. It's not like because it is the whole balance with emotions, and then in this one, Well, they're not going to be giving spoilers because it's not real. You can't really spoil this movie.
No, but I mean, we won't
it's
spoil the
such
jokes necessarily,
it's
but
it's
like,
such a yeah. It's the one thing that struck me about this movie, right? When it was over, it was a great movie and everyone went on a journey, but the actual like narrative itself is very, very small. Like it is a small movie about a small problem and a small issue, right?
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because I looked up the director and the main things, and actually the composer, and the main things they'd done were the likes of, say, Monsters Inc. Party Central, like, or Monster University Party Central. They'd done a lot of the Pixar shorts and like extra things on Disney Plus and that kind of stuff. And after finding that out, it sort of clicked into me my problem with it compared to Inside Out 1, which is I think it's a movie that has lots of very impressive like set pieces
Yeah.
that don't necessarily flow together in the same way. Like with Inside Out 1, and I know this because it's on a lot in this house, every time something happens, it either pays off or builds up the sequences. One of the islands falls apart, something gets worse in Riley's life. They go through abstract thought, or the imaginary boyfriend turns up. It pays off in the end. With this one, like, there's a sequence where they end up locked in a vault with like like a video game character and another character, and that bit happens and it's done. They get caught up in a brainstorm, which is through a storm, and that bit happens and it's done. It kind of felt like with the joy, sadness centric stuff, it kind of just felt like a sequence of things that happened. And like you were saying there, it felt like the story as a result was quite small. Like,
Yeah, but I don't mean that in a bad way. It's
no?
like it really is a credit though to them that like they took you on this massive journey and then it's like, oh, time to pick up Riley from camp. And you're like,
Oh, I see what you mean. Okay, all right.
it's like I'm not talking about the actual characters. I mean in the actual the real narrative, the real world. Riley goes to camp for 3 days.
Yeah, I see
And
what you
that's
mean.
it.
Like an
It's not
epic change in a short span of time. Like,
yeah, and it's I wish more franchises would learn from this, particularly like I know you can't really compare, but I'm gonna do it anyway. Like with Marvel, where it's just like, oh, the whole world is at risk and the planets are at risk, and we must have
I
all these
see. So
people.
the stakes were high, even though the literal story was small. Like,
Yeah, like if you tell a good, well-written story that has depth, and the thing about this, because it is, again, it's why I'm so surprised that your daughter's favorite movie is this. It's because it's so incredibly deep. There's so much going on in such a short space of time, and there's so many layers to it, which is why it's so good for adults as well. That it just the stakes don't have to be that big because it is so character focused. Every single emotion obviously has their own drive, and they feel like real, tangible things. And how they come together again is really sweet, but also very impactful. And then again, because it is literally emotions working together, when it does go out into the meta narrative, you care about Riley getting on the hockey team. You
Yeah,
care about her friend.
absolutely. And like you've hit on a point there, which is I really like that because like we won't give away too much, although I
No.
imagine based on my cinema, lots of people have seen it. But in any case, there is sort of a through line that Riley wants to get on the team, and she also wants to get in with the cool kids. And she's kind of leaving her two friends behind to do it. And there is some motivation to that. But like I like how the movie, because anxiety is kind of at the head of the controls. I like how the movie explains why she's making all the decisions, even though they're the wrong decisions, and you don't hate her as a result. It's like, again, I feel like the first one's stronger, but I still feel like it's very delicately done, where you completely understand everyone's decisions and there's no villain. It's just how the brain's working at the moment, and that's a very complex thing to get across to the kids' film. Like
it is. There's no villain per se. There's just like a new kind of status quo. And how do you explain that to children? How do you explain that in a kids movie? It's very, very well done. It really is.
I love the whole concept of what was it called? The sense of self.
Yeah, that was great too.
Where all of the memories flow into this river and it sort of flows up into a tree.
Yeah.
In the brain. That's a very sophisticated idea. Like
it is. No, I like the first movie is technically better, but I do think a lot of these kind of movies are just better. But it doesn't make that this movie. It doesn't mean that this movie is bad. Like I don't think any stretch of imagination would you say that this movie is a bad movie.
No.
Sorry,
it's actually Inside Out 2 is as good as Inside Out 1 doesn't mean that it's not better than most of the films this year. You know,
and it absolutely is better than most of these movies I've seen this year. You know, I really enjoyed it. I think if you haven't seen it yet, go see it. You're probably going to struggle to buy a ticket because they are hard to get. But it's very, very good.
Yeah, and it's worth seeing in cinema, not necessarily because of the scale or anything, but because it's so easily to get distracted. Go on that emotional journey with an audience, you know, it is nice.
And you know what was sad? I wasn't able to be on my phone at all because it was so full. It was so full. I felt bad.
No, because like I saw Dune 2 and like there were like 7 or 8 teenagers on TikTok in the row, 2 rows in front of me. And like, you know, I understand attention spans are getting shorter, but my heart broke a little bit because
listen,
you're missing out on this experience, you know?
Well, no, I mean, listen, if you're going to do that, do what I do. Buy a seat up the back as far as you can, over to one of the sides, and then you can.
Well, that's considerate.
But that's I will not take my phone out if I'm not up the back by myself because that's
not
rude.
Me being like, okay, boomer. I'm just saying, like, you're ruining your own experience, you know?
No, I mean, for certain, like when what was the movie that I was bored to hell? Oh yeah, Oppenheimer, bored to hell. Couldn't wait to live.
Okay, well that's why you and me are different people.
And the same with Barbie as well. I was like, I actually did walk out of the cinema with that one. I was like, I just can't. This is
before we get into Barbenheimer stuff, did you have a favorite new character?
I really liked Embarrassment. I thought that was that's probably it. But also Ennui was really fun. Ennui is probably my favorite one.
I was a bit worried all these new emotions would be hard to juggle, but they
did them really well.
Balance, like
they did them really well. Like as I said, like it's easy and hard at the same time to write a character like that. I'd say but then again, like they're literally the emotions. So you know, by them playing to that type is really good. I mean, it's a credit to them. Pixar has been very hit and miss for a while. Like it really has. This is its return to form. You know, really,
absolutely.
Return.
I personally, I mean, I love, like, my wife loved the anxiety character. I saw her nodding along with it a worrying amount of times. But my favorite by far was Envy, because as soon as you hear that name, you're like, that character's going to be malicious so and so, and it was like a little baby Yoda looking thing, and it was sweet and adorable, and it just wanted to join. Like it's a very interesting take on that feeling, like, you know.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like it's one of these movies that I think will age better with time as well.
Yes, I'm looking forward to watching it 2 or 3 times, because that happened with Incredibles 2 for me. I watched it and I kind of went, that's fine. And then once I saw it 3 or 4 times on DVD, I was like, oh, actually, there's more going on than I originally gave it credit for. Like, you know, and I'm sure it'll be the same with this. Like,
Yeah, I'm having a look at the cast actually, and it makes sense why the movie was so good.
Mm. Oh, the cast is stellar. I do feel bad for the two voice actors who didn't return, Bill Hader and Mindy Kaling. They were totally right to not return with what they were offered in terms compared to what the voice of Joy was. But it was still a shame to lose them, like, you know.
Yeah, for sure. But like, you know, you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, well, like Disney pay everyone evenly. It's only fair. Like, you know, like, did you hear the price discrepancy?
See, that's why they have agents, again.
I know, but that's ridiculous. Like Amy Poehler was allegedly offered like 5 million. Now, granted,
Yeah.
some of that was a consulting fee because she was on the creative team.
Yeah.
But Bill Hader and Mindy Kaling were only offered 100,000, which I know you say 100,000 is a lot, but what's the stats on that? Is it 2% or?
Oh yeah, no, but
like you know,
no, but as I said,
it work.
No, I mean you're not wrong, but at the you know that's why you have agents.
That's true.
You know, but then again, when you think about it, like I like Bill Hader, I think he's really funny. But Fear really isn't that big of a role in this movie. Like it's one or two lines. And who was the other
It's
one?
a bigger role. They go on the journey. They get
Who was the other one?
banished
Who was the other one?
along with
Who was the other
all
one?
of them. Like you know.
Who was the other one that didn't return? Was it Disgust? Mindy Kaling?
Yes, Mindy
Yeah.
Kaling. Yeah.
Okay, Disgust. She has like 6 lines in the movie.
I suppose there is that kind of like, but
I mean,
again, pay everyone
look,
evenly is only fair.
well, no, I mean, come on, like
I do
I mean,
do like the fact that Inside Out is staffed with loads of TV actors.
Yeah,
like you've got two from The Office, you've got Parks and Rec, and like one of the new actors, it is from The Bear. We've got someone from Stranger Things. I like that it's all televisual actors. I honestly don't see the point of getting like Chris Hemsworth to be in Transformers unless they bring something very like look at Chris Pratt and all these things. Unless they bring something very special to the role that transcends their celebrity, I don't see the point of the expense.
Yeah, I mean, it's a name again. Like, okay, just this whole thing, right?
Yeah, but which kid is gonna go see Garfield because Snoop Dogg's in it? Like,
okay, hold on. So there's two things with it, right? There's the studio behind it where it's like, okay, we know who this person is, let's see this person, right? Which for better or worse, that's what happens.
Yes, I know. Yeah,
when it
comes, have your pitch.
Yeah, and also you got to have a name that's there, right? Now, not often, but then again, this is how some studio people think. When it comes to the pay kind of stuff, pay everyone equally. I mean, Joy talks a lot. She's the face of the whole thing. It makes sense that she's get paid more. Fear and Disgust have like 16 to 28 lines. So I mean, what probably happens there is they probably get paid on scale, where it's like, okay, look, you're talking for this amount of time. We're going to pay you this much. That's probably how they did it. But then again, agents do that. I'm not an agent, but like with TV actors, using TV actors in movies, it's sometimes a risk. But with voice actors, particularly, you know, people coming from the Bear, Parks and Rec, they're all character actors anyway. So it makes perfect sense to use those kind of actors and The Office as well. Like, I mean, that was a very much inspired choice. It really, really was. But there you go. Sorry, I just had to hit all.
No. I mean, you're right. And look at the cast of Fantastic Four. They're all television actors as well. Like
for sure, yeah.
Stranger Things, Pedro Pascal, The Bear. Like
it's funny. So what was the last Pixar movie that came out?
That's a bad song that you can't remember.
No, it was the Elemental, right? It was, and actually,
that was good. That was good. Not brilliant, but it was good.
Yeah, I liked it, but it wasn't game changing. And what was it? Elemental came out last, and then there was Lightyear, which
I liked that one.
There was five people in the cinema.
But I liked it.
There was 5 people in the cinema when I saw that movie.
I mean, it's long after the original hype, like
And Turning Red, I still haven't seen. I heard that was quite good.
That is amazing. I've watched that like 7 times. That is fantastic.
Soul,
Soul's good too. That's really good.
I didn't see Soul. Onward, I heard nobody went to go see that.
I didn't like that at all. Soul is from the same team that did Inside Out 1. That is genuinely class.
Yeah, I'll have to give that a watch. But The Incredibles was the last one. Sorry, Toy Story 4 and The Incredibles were the last 2 franchise ones that were there. Yeah, and I mean, I would say compared to both of those movies, which I mean, both weren't bad. I thought the Inside Out 2 was actually a better movie than either of
Yeah,
them.
I mean, it's Inside Out 1 makes me cry 3 times at the same 3 spots.
I
And I
believe it,
didn't
yeah.
cry once in Inside Out 2, but it did create the feel. I did like connect to the characters and all that, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was the same. It's as I said, it's a movie exploring feelings and all that kind of stuff. And it was like
Mm,
you're gonna have some feels watching it, but yeah, I didn't see anyone crying in the movie
mm.
anyway. So
But that's fine. You don't have to do the same thing. It's already kind of structurally similar to the first one,
yeah,
but
it
at
is.
least, but no, you're not going to top Bing Bong. And I kind of respect that it didn't try. I
Yeah,
thought I mean, I suppose we're quite late into this. What looked like an anxiety attack was done very effectively. Like,
yeah, yeah. No, absolutely. Well, it
in
was
Riley, like,
yeah, it was a bit much. It was a little bit too much in certain points, but not. It didn't ruin the film. I
no,
think
but
what.
if you're going to make a film about something, make it about something. Don't go halfway. Like,
Yeah, yeah. And also as well, like it is a kids movie, so you have to be a bit more heavy-handed
yeah,
than normal. But
yeah.
like as I said, when I went to go see Furiosa as well, it wasn't a packed cinema.
Mm,
This movie,
same.
this movie brought people in.
Mm,
Garfield, I don't think did numbers. If didn't do numbers like that, even though I really, really liked it.
mm.
That had a lot of feels in it, and that I think impactfully that movie was probably better than Inside Out too. But
Yeah.
as far as like a people pleaser and Disney need a win, this is a huge win.
Well,
Huge.
on that note, we've 20 minutes left. Would you like to talk about the films you've seen or Nintendo Direct?
I'll quickly talk about Nintendo Direct.
Go on, so.
So Nintendo Direct, obviously, I mean, I'm not a huge Nintendo fan, but when stuff does drop, I do try to pay attention. I picked up the Switch Plus thing, the with all the gaming thing for like a year.
Oh, that is really good. I like that a lot.
See, I didn't like it. I didn't use it. I mean, I liked it in principle.
This is the kind of the Netflix for the Nintendo 64 and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, like in theory, I had it for a year, right? And in theory, it's great, and it is great. I mean, it has all the games and all that kind of stuff, but I just wasn't using it, so I didn't pick it up. But they do seem to. I think once they build it out more, because and it is a good service. I mean, if you're a huge Nintendo fan, it's great, But what really made like what's it now? Perfect Dark is going there. Turok, Zelda, Link to the Past, and Metroid are going there. That's pretty cool. But what really so when something piques my interest on the Switch, it's a rarity because I'm not a Nintendo fanboy. I don't really like Nintendo as a company or a product, but because they're not Sega, and I wish Sega had beaten them. I'm still not over. Um, but at the same time, when something does show up, I'm like, okay, if it's good, you know I'm gonna get on it. So. The big news for me was not only that there's a new Metroid, blah 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 blah. Who cares? There is a um Donkey Kong Country HD remake, which is pretty cool. I love Donkey Kong Country.
Okay.
But the big one is Marvel versus Capcom Fighting Collection. So if you don't know what
I've never actually played this game, I must confess.
well, see, it's not a game per se. It's a series of games in a
Okay.
bundle, right? So I don't know if you noticed or not, but the Marvel versus Capcom game was kind of like is the culmination of a series of games that came out in the 90s where Marvel characters would fight Capcom characters.
I know literally nothing about this other than it exists.
Okay, so basically the first real kind of Marvel games outside of like side scrollers were fighting games.
Right.
So X-Men, Children of the Atom, Marvel superheroes, right?
Are these the
But
kind of side-scrolling ones you used to see in
no,
like?
it was yeah, they were the first kind of games, but then there were these fighting games. So you'd have like in X-Men, Children of the Atom, you have X-Men characters fighting X-Men characters. In Marvel superheroes, you'd have Captain America and Doctor Doom fighting each other, right?
Right.
But then what happened was they were like, okay, we can have Street Fighter got really big. So then it would be the X-Men versus Street Fighter. And then it'd be the Marvel superheroes on one team versus Street Fighter characters, right? And they iterated and iterated and iterated until you ended up with Marvel versus Capcom 2, which is one of the most famous Dreamcast games had a great port on the PS2 as well, and it's still to this day one of the best fighting games you'll ever play. And then they randomly threw in the Punisher, which is a Streets of Rage side scroller like you'd see in Token. I think it actually was in Token at one point. So that is a weird addition because one of these things is not like the other. But I mean, it's cool to have it. Like it's a good collection, and you know, the Switch, and not just the Switch, but like the Switch is very common with these where they'll have the Turtle games, they'll have the Street Fighter games, they'll have them all, the Castlevania games as well. They'll have them all in these kind of packs, and usually they drop for about 35 euros, but they're always really good, and I think this is a must buy when it drops. Like if you're a fan of fighting games, which I'm a huge fan of fighting games, just alone to have a good port of Marvel vs. Capcom 2, that's worth it. That's worth 35 quid alone. But having all these other games, it is pretty neat.
Well, I mean, that's kind of why I like the Nintendo kind of membership thing. First of all, like
to be clear, this isn't on Nintendo membership. This is a game that's dropping, like a physical game.
I know, but I wanted to kind of circle back because it came up earlier. Like,
Okay.
But like the thing I like about it is when I kind of looked into it, I had a choice between spending 25 quid getting the extra Mario Kart courses for Prim, or I could rent this thing for a year and get them included. So, I mean, that covers the cost of it anyway, as well as anything that comes out for Animal Crossing or any of the other games, like, and that's all kind of included, obviously, for the year. And then, like, as well as that, it's just nice having your Nintendo 64, Game Boy Advance, Game Boy Color. I think there's one of the Sega ones as well. Like, because to give you an example, like Paper Mario, the original Paper Mario is on there. It's on the kind of Nintendo 64 thing in your little library. Like, I'd rather take that than pay 50 quid to try the Thousand Year Door when that comes out. It's nice to just pick up something and try Yoshi's Island and see if you like it, and it's very low risk. I know obviously you've paid for it, and if all gaming was like that, I wouldn't like it. But just for this one thing, I like the novelty of it,
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like look, the thing about it is it's kind of hard to play all the games because there's so many games out there that you need to kind of make a choice, but I think when it comes to stuff like this, where you can get stuff in a nice collection, particularly older games, it actually it makes the Switch work,
Yes.
Because we've been here and we've talked about certain games on the Switch where it just doesn't work. For example, the Fractured Butthole, the South Park game, that does not run on the Switch. Like, I mean, I'll be honest with you, that should not be sold on the Switch. Is
that the superhero one or the fantasy one?
I don't think the fantasy one is there.
I played the fantasy one, and I thought that the Stick of Destiny or whatever, and I thought that one actually ran okay.
Did it run okay on the Switch?
I didn't notice any problems with it, at least.
Okay.
I haven't played any other ones.
The Fractured Butthole does not run on the Switch.
No, okay.
It goes to the first cutscene and then just keeps shutting down. It can't handle
God.
it. It just can't handle it. So genuinely, that should not be on the Switch. I mean, and I've completed it on the PS4. It's one of my favorite games. But the limitations of the Switch are very, very, very pronounced. It's funny because Doom runs quite well, like Doom 2015. But and it's cool to have those games. But I think where the Switch's real strength lives is, you can push it up to like PS4 games to an extent, but it's these collections where it's running old games really, really, really well on these small cartridges, and I think that's wonderful because I'm like, I can take these I can like take all the Turtle games or the Castlevania games, and then you have them to play it, and like having those online as well, like a nice collection, is pretty neat. But at the same time, if you're looking for, because it's kind of like emulation, instead of having it on your phone or something like that, but at the same time, it has to be worth it. And for me,
absolutely. Like Kev, who isn't here this week, he described the Switch in a wonderful way when he got it, which is he said it's the most comfortable console he owns. Like, I mean, I say that as a member of a family. It's lovely to be able to just like put it down, pick it up, pass it to my daughter. She can play it too. 2-player is readily accessible. Like I have a PlayStation 3 and a friend of mine gave me all the best PlayStation 3 games and I haven't played them because it's simply for the very shameless reason that it's more of a hassle to turn it on.
You know what?
That's it.
You know what? That's why I think the Steam Deck is great. Like
I was wondering if you'd bring that up. Yes.
Because the Steam Deck is the same. I mean, I have a lot of games on Steam that I don't really play, and I probably should have because you have to play them on the PC. But when you play the Steam Deck, you're just able to sit down, chill, play it in bed or on the couch or something, and you can't do that with anything else. The Switch for me, it lives in my bag, and I take it traveling with me, and yeah, it's extremely comfortable because I mean, like the battery life lasts quite long.
Yeah, a good few hours, like.
Yeah, I mean, like the Steam Deck doesn't last that long, and it is demonstrably bigger. Like I have a Switch Lite, so it's even lighter again.
Okay.
And you can just it just lives in your bag, and you can just take it out and play it, and you can bang out 4 to 6 hours. And yeah, like I mean, if you're not playing like crazy intensive graphics games or even like older games, it is perfect. I mean, like you'll have no problems with it. With the Steam Deck, yeah, it's a bit more of a commitment. It's much bigger, but it's so handy. And instead of turning on the PS5 or the Steam the Steam on the PC, it's very much the same idea. But the Switch is definitely to this day the handiest, most convenient console that exists.
Yes, which is why a shiver ran down my spine when you said a Nintendo Switch 2 is coming out.
Indeed. So we don't have a lot of information yet, but it's probably going to be out next summer, and they're more than likely going to drop something before the end of Q3 this year.
Oh God. I mean, look, I've got enough games that I can comfortably live off it for the rest of my life by this point.
Can't we all?
But I don't
seems...
like the idea that the newer Mario releases is going to be behind the new console paywall,
I see the secret there is to just play Sonic games.
I've got a decent. Actually, my 5-year-old is a dab hand at the original Sonic. She can clear the original level, like in the original game, in like 50 seconds.
There you go. Perfect.
But in the 9 minutes we have left, you're gonna have to make a choice. You can talk about 2 new films, or you can talk about The Acolyte.
No, we're going to talk about the Acolyte, and I'm going to follow up on my promise because we promised at the start of the show that we would talk about our listeners' comments on the Acolyte because.
Well, then I'm going to leave this to you since you're the YouTube guru.
Yeah, like it's. What can I say about the Acolyte that hasn't already been said?
Well, that's the challenge.
It ain't good.
The Acolyte's actually killing them.
It is slowly killing me, yes. So look, some comments here from YouTube. I'm going to clean these up because some of them are some of them are funny. So from JT Gammon on TV, it's not great, but it's not as bad as the hysteria would indicate. From Default Prophet, it's mid so far. Like it has some interesting stuff, and I want to see more of this era. Okay, so they're nice middle of the road comments. And I mean, Keen, I think that's probably where you would be as well most of the time.
I mean, I'm just. It's not grabbing me. Like I will say, I haven't seen since episode 2. I was gonna let them build up,
right?
But just from that first 2, it just kind of passed through me.
So hold on, you didn't even see Tree,
You
didn't even see Tree.
No, I heard you talk about it.
Wow, okay,
I haven't actually watched it.
You're in for a rough time.
I don't mind it getting spoiled.
Yeah, you're in for a rough time. No, I can't. I mean, Tree is just it breaks everything. Like it is horrendously bad. And that view is echoed by Addy Comedy, really bad, and then Tom Caden. How bad is it? It's dog droppings. Obviously, it's a bit more colorful than that. But you look, so it seems to be the general opinion on this is awful. Like I think the show now on Rotten Tomatoes is at 17%. And look, episode 4 dropped last night. I've seen it. Look, I'm not going to spoil this for you, Keen, because there's literally nothing to spoil.
Well, then why not spoil it?
Well, I can't. That's the problem. So in this episode, literally nothing happens. right? So in the last episode, it's still episode 1 and 2 of season 1 is you're following the twins as they're being discovered.
Yeah.
The assassinations are happening, blah blah blah. Episode 3 is a flashback, so it jumps back about 16 years. And I honestly, like, this has been said by other people, but I do believe this would make a lot more sense if episode 1 had have been, if episode 3 had been episode 1. That would have actually kind of made the season flow a little bit better, you know. But obviously, this is written by people who have no idea what they're doing and made by people who have no idea what they're doing. So it's a complete mess. And episode 4 picks up then at the end of episode 2. So you're kind of jotted back in.
Oh my God, they're making Star Wars numbering confusing again.
I know, it's infuriatingly bad. So what happens in episode 4 basically is they go on a big hike. They do a lot of talking.
Just love a good hill walk.
Yeah, literally they walk up a hill. It's crazy, right? It's like watching the bad parts of the Fellowship of the Ring, but with no payoff. And then
it's like, take one more step, Mr. Frodo. This is the furthest I've ever been from home.
Oh, it's you know what? It's nearly that bad. And that's no disrespect to Lord of the Rings, huge Lord of the Rings fans, but the Fellowship, when you watch it again, sometimes it's, you know, there's a lot of walking. But so it's 30 minutes of nothing, and then at the end there is 90 seconds of an action scene where the Sith, the unknown Sith, shows up, shows his lightsaber, and then the little Jedi group light all their lightsabers, and then he just force pushes them all away, and it ends.
I mean, I know we're kind of beating a dead horse at this point.
No, the horse is still alive. It's still limping along. That's the problem.
Well, no, hear me out. What would people get out of this that you couldn't get out of any one of the Star Wars Visions shorts that are 15 minutes long? They already have one that's about a Jedi sibling and a Sith twin sibling. They already have an awesome one about a Jedi and an apprentice going on a hunt for like a Sith Lord in the mountains. And these all, you get cool animation as well, and they're in the High Republic era. So, what's your USP on this one like?
There isn't one. I mean, look, it seems like here's one for you. Internet hate content on the Acolyte now is more popular than the Acolyte show. And I've seen different people talk about different things where they're sticking up for it and they're saying it's great, and I'm still like, for the life of me, I'm like, why is it great? I mean, even look, the first 2 episodes, you know, we said this last week, they weren't too bad. They were mid as anything, you know, they weren't the worst thing ever. I was upset that Trinity was killed because I mean, I genuinely like what stuff that she's in. She's a good actress and she's a pretty good martial artist. Even though the choreography in that episode was genuinely horrific, really, really bad. But you know, she's quite good. The season overall is halfway through, and we still don't have any intrigue, any nuance that's gonna keep you hooked, any real story, any kind of direction. The only thing I've heard is that this Acolyte fella, this Sith guy who's not a Sith but might be, is that he is going to be Darth Plagueis.
Darth Plagueis, yes, I heard that early on. And you know what? Good for them.
And you know what? I mean, if they do, I've also heard that it could be Count Dooku. I do not believe that.
Yeah, let's make prequels to our prequels. Why not?
That makes no sense. Here's the thing. If it's Darth Plagueis, okay, look, I can kind of go along with that. I can see what you did. You did it in the worst possible way. It really is awful, but I can see, you know, he learned that from the witches, and that's how he was able to do it and create. Fair enough, right? I can get that, but it's still so bad, isn't it?
Oh, well, look, in the 2 minutes we have left, I am just going to repeat my point from last week, which is that everyone on the internet owes Star Trek Discovery an apology. Because
everyone owes George Lucas an apology.
Oh no, here 4 episodes into that thing, we had a big epic space battle.
Yeah.
We had our main character in prison.
Right.
In the 3rd episode, they met the entire crew, went on like a cool, like kind of climbing around the vaults and what are they called? Those shaft things, ventilation shafts. And then in episode 4, they went on their and rescued a mining colony, and there was like an arc by that point. And everyone said that show was slow.
Yeah.
Like what? You know what? What's 1 minute left? What's your last thing you want to say about the Acolyte?
I mean, look, we're still gonna watch it just to find out how deep this rabbit hole goes, but it's a slog. It really is. It's so bad that I don't know if it's done on purpose, honestly.
You think someone would do this on purpose?
I don't know. That's the thing. I don't really understand who this show is for, or
revive your conspiracy podcast.
or what they're trying to achieve. You know, I don't know why this show exists. I'm still confused by that.
It's a shame because conceptually, I know you've alluded to the showrunner.
Yeah.
If the idea was to go down this DC route and just let people make Star Wars in their own style and canon and Marvel style be damned. Cool. It's a great idea. It's
Absolutely.
just a shame this is the result.
Yeah, look, the thing about it is like maybe vet who you're allowed to make it. Like, at least have someone who understands what Star Wars is make it, right? Like, even the cast, there's doing the rounds now in the interview where one of the guys is like, "Oh, Anakin blew up the Death Star," and it's like, "Oh my god,
oh Jesus,
what are you doing? You're killing me, buddy. What are you doing?"
Well, in the 10 seconds left, I just want to say apologies for not getting to the Fall Guy and all that kind of stuff. But in fairness, according to box office numbers, neither did the rest of you. So, you know,
that's true.
We'll have to chuck that into next week. But thank you so much for going with us on this journey. Dara, is there anything you'd like to say before we wrap it up?
Please go over and subscribe to our YouTube. Check out nerdtoknowmedia.com and leave a comment.
Absolutely. And I am going to pull something cardboardy thing out of my son's mouth. So until next week, I've been Kian.
I've been Dara.
And we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye. Alright, so you're listening to the podcast, you're like, hey, I'm not in Ireland, how do I get in touch? Well, TuneIn has you covered. That's how you can check us out live when we're on the radio. You go to TuneIn and download the app, or you can check out the live streams on nerdtoknowmedia.com or Phoenix 92.5 FM. If you want to get in contact with us, it's very easy. Nerd to Know Media everywhere. Nerd to Know Media on Twitter, Nerd to Know Media Instagram, Nerd to Know Media on Twitch, Nerd to Know Media at gmail.com if you want to reach out via email. Hope to hear from you soon. Check out the Wrestling Rewind here on Phoenix 92.5 FM every Tuesday at 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. And of course over on nerdtoknowmedia.com, the only wrestling podcast by wrestling fans who don't hate wrestling. We'll see you then.
Hey Dara, what are you doing over there in Ireland? Like with the freaking leprechauns and everything. That's not cool. You should be over here with the cosplayers. At least then you could, like, I don't know, pretend like you got, I don't know, some kind of thing going on. Yeah, with you give me a Brooklyn Blaze. With you. Dara. Yeah, Dara. Why ain't you over here with Joey? Anyway, we miss you, dude. So, it's Bill Karibo saying,
I love it. All I do.
Thank you for listening to a Nerd to Know Media production.